Okay, thanks for joining this morning. My name's Matt. I kind of look after something called My Funding Central, which by its name hopefully enables you to make the link between My Funding Central and what was the NCVO service, which was Funding Central. NCVO, for whatever reason, internally decided that they were no longer able to basically facilitate and to manage Funding Central, which was an idox product. I work for a company called idox, and idox have numerous funding portals that are out there. So what we decided to do was to make sure that there was still this area or this element of support for the voluntary sector in England. So we put together and devised an open to all funding portal. It is slightly different to Funding Central. It is basically it's a subscription-based model, but it is still free for all of those organisations with an income of less than £30,000, and then it's incremental in cost. But I'll go through that as and when I open up my screen, which will be in a moment or two. But just in general terms, what the service allows you to have access to are all of the grants that are available in England, and therefore you'd be able to find all those opportunities by defining through quite a simplistic set of box ticking who you are, where you are, and what you're looking for projects or what you're looking for funds for. It allows you to set up things called save searches. You save searches into the system. You can then set up email alerts, which will then tell you of anything new that comes in that matches anything that you've saved within your own personal system. There are also newsletters that are generated, which you get to see on a weekly basis. Like I say, I'm going to, if it's okay with you, I'm going to quickly share my screen to show you kind of the fundamentals of it. Just bear with me a second. Like I say, bit of a beginner when it comes to Zoom, so apologies. So the URL, or the way that you can find it, is www.myfundingcentral.co.uk. That will then take you to this landing page, and from here you've got the option of subscribing. You've got some funding information, which just gives you what is My Funding Central, gives you an explanation, so you can make that decision before you subscribe or you don't subscribe. It tells you what you're likely to get from your subscription or registration. As you can see, tailored lists for you to explore. And there's a little bit of information around kind of an introduction to grants. You've also got FAQs, frequently asked questions, and within the FAQs there are the instructions on how to use the service, which is down here. So it's a PDF on how to navigate through My Funding Central. Subscribing, if you click on subscribe now, this basically, there's two main ways that you can, or two types of organizations that can subscribe to the service. They need to have an income, a charitable income of less than £1 million, or a business income of less than £1 million, because it's designed to support the smaller organizations that are out there. If you are a registered charity, the way that you subscribe is you need to have your charity number, and you input, if I show you the process, you click on select the charity, you put in your first name, your surname, your email address, and confirm your email address. If you need any assistance, general inquiries through logging on, there's our email address there, and that will go into a shared inbox. You then put your charity number, and what will happen once you've put in your charity number, this then cross-references to the Charity Commission. It's what we would call an API. It confirms what your income is, and based on that income, it will tell you how much, if you need to pay. If your income is 30,000 and below, as I mentioned, it's free of charge. If it's between 30,000 and 50,000, it's a £50 charge, and you can have 2 users accessing the system. If your income is 50,000 to 100,000, then it's £100, and you can have 3 users accessing the system. If your income is 100 to 500,000, then it's £200 with 4 users. And if it's between 500,000 and a million, then it's £300 with 5 users. You've got terms and conditions here, which you need to obviously tick. So that's if you were a registered charity. If you're not a registered charity and you're a CIC, or you're a social enterprise, or you're a small business, etc., then you can still register. You just go via this not registered with the charity commission route. So charity over here, not registered with charity commission over here, and you click on continue, and it asks you, am I a company? And then you select, and similar process. We ask for your email address and your company number and your recent turnover. Because it's a subscription-based service, then obviously if your income is less than 30,000, still it's going to be free. But obviously those costs that I've just outlined to you are relevant if you're a business with that sort of income. What I would say, it is for voluntary and community organisations and or CICs and businesses that are dealing in the sector. What it isn't there for is for kind of like consultants, to allow them to kind of benefit from the access to the details. And all of that is defined within the terms and conditions, both here and also view terms and conditions. So that's kind of like the easy bits, how to subscribe to it. I'm already a registered user on the service, as you can probably imagine. So I'm just going to go back to how and what else you can see from the front page. Just bear with me, it may kick me out in a minute. So as you can see there again, from the front page, you've got some information. You've also got, as you can see, a news feed. You've got some funds that have recently been added, but this is just very limited information on the front page. You don't have to subscribe to access this information. Further information is available through subscription or registration. But if you wanted to access anything from the front page, then all you have to do is click on the hyperlink, and that hyperlink then takes you, sorry, it didn't take me in that case, so because it's showing you the headlines, apologies, that's my mistake. So let me go into my login and show you the full access and what it'll give you upon full access. So there you go, that makes a bit more sense. So there you have, upon accessing the system, you've got all the funds that have been added. And just to give you a little bit of background about how we work as an organisation, we've got 24 researchers and content specialists that work in the background, making sure that information is put onto the system in as much real time as a human allows. So it's not a case of, if something came out this morning, then it could well be on by the end of the day at the very, very latest, but it is very much up to date. So these funds have been added. You've got upcoming deadlines here, and you've got a news feed here. And as you can see, you've got this little icon here which opens up into more funds that have recently been added onto the system. This is all quite generic at this point, but when you get into the search, you'll see how you can tailor your responses to suit. You know who you are, where you're located, and what funds you're looking for. But just to give you an example, you click on let's just see if there's any that are reasonably close. We'll go Tameside. My geography is not brilliant, but I know it's somewhere up your way. So if you wanted to look at that, for example, you click on the hyperlink. We then give you all the information you might need to work out whether or not, if you were in Thames side, whether or not it's worthy of putting pen to paper. So we give you all of the objectives of the funds, you know, how much is in there, who can apply, any restrictions, what you can spend the money on. So we're giving you insight into what that funder is actually looking for in an application. Location, how to go about applying, then external links to this particular funder, which obviously will then hold any further information you might need, and application forms. So we're basically giving you as much information that you need to either think about the project, create an application, and find application forms, etc. And also, if you notice here, you've got all the contact information that you might need if you were in Tameside and you wanted to speak to somebody about the particular fund. But like I say, this is just at the moment quite generic information that you can get from your landing page. So when you get into the searching, that's where it becomes more specific to you as an organization and your location. You've got funding updates. You know, again, you can just isolate funds that have been added. And as you can see there, you've got 173 funds that have recently been added. The chances are that you only need to dip into this occasionally. It's really important that when we go through the searching mechanism, that once you've done a search, you then set up these email alerts, because those email alerts are going to make sure that you're receiving notification and information about relevant opportunities in your area. So as you can see, you've got these options here of downloading. So you can generate Word reports, and you don't have to put them all into Word reports. You can pick and choose those that you want to include by ticking the boxes on the funds that are of interest to you, and then going to download selected and putting it into a Word report. But all of what I'm showing you now, this is all based on what you see when you initially log on. But when you're searching, which is obviously the most relevant, is you go to search now, click on search now, and this is where you define within the system what type of third sector organization you are. So you click on select organization type, and then you've got this list. By each ticking of the box at each step of this, what I would call a ladder, because you're going down the ladders, at each point you're telling the system a little bit more about yourselves, and therefore making sure that the results that it generates are relevant. So if we say that you're a voluntary and community organization, then you want to see those opportunities that are relevant to you. You can do one or two or as many as you want in here. But if we just stick to registered charity, for example, the system now knows all I'm interested in are those opportunities that are available to me as a registered charity. Then you see this area of works step of the ladder, and you click on select areas of work. So this is asking you, as a registered charity, what is it that you do? What is your main remit? So I'm going to just use an example, if I may. Let's assume that you're working in disability. Where you see a triangle or an arrowhead, or however you want to describe that, that just means that there's something else below. It's going to open up a browse tree, and that allows you to define a bit more specifically what you do around disability. So if you are a registered charity providing support to people with mental disabilities, or physical disabilities, or sensory, then you want to be ticking that box, because once more, the system's being told, or you're telling the system, that I'm a registered charity, I work in the disability field, but we specialize in providing support to people with mental health or mental disabilities. And each one of these will open up different options, as you can see. So you may have two strings to your bow. You know, it might be that it's older people, but you've got all these different options that you can open up So there'll be a description in here generally for every type of registered charity. And once you've told it who you are and what you specialize in, you just click OK. And then you put in a location. Right, it's really important that you put in a location. If you don't put in a location, you'll get to see what the whole system has to offer. So you're going to be bombarded by a lot of information that you just don't need or want to see. So it's really important that you put in your location. I live in a place called Sutton Coldfield, which is in the West Midlands. Whoops, should be able to spell it if I live there. So you've got all these different options. I don't know quite why. Yeah, I live in a place called Four Oaks. It's a really, really small place within Birmingham. So there's quite a granular level that you can search for. What you will see by putting in the location is everything that as a registered charity in Warrington, locally, regionally, nationally, and also European wise, you're going to be eligible for. So you're not going to miss out on any opportunities. It just means you're not muddying the water with information that I in Sutton Coldfield and would be interested in. So it just tailors the results and streamlines them to a geographic specification. And the next level, activities here. This is what is the project? What grants am I looking for? So you click on select activities. You've got a glossary of activities over here, which tells you what sits or what these mean. But if, let's say, for example, that you are, you're looking for a grant around, I'm just trying to think, community development. So here, if you're looking for a grant, maybe for something around building projects, then not only have you got a glossary over here, but you've also got, if you hover over, hopefully you can see this, you can't see it in Teams, but I'm hovering over building alterations and improvements. We give you an insight into what you're likely to see if you tick that box. So that's showing me refurbishment of existing community buildings. And you can pick and choose, you can put in as many or as little as you wish in here. So if you're looking for multiple grants for multiple projects, then you can almost do one search right at the beginning of the process. Save that search, set up an email alert. You'll know what's live as of today, but those email alerts will then allow the system to tell you of anything new that comes in, and even any of those that are closed, having, as soon as they reopen, you'll get an email to tell you that they have indeed reopened. So you shouldn't miss out on any opportunities. So I'm just going to kind of tick a few of these boxes, but my suggestion would be familiarize yourself with the glossary, have a look at these boxes, and then go through them step by step, ticking boxes based on what projects you might have in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. And then you kind of, like I say, you tick the right boxes, or the boxes that are relevant to aforementioned projects. As you can see, you've got lots and lots of different opportunities in here. See, I'm not going to open up all of these, but you can see certainly that there's lots of scope in here to identify opportunities that are quite specific. Equipment for the disadvantaged, support, all the way down to mentoring and counselling and so on and so forth. So this is what we're doing now, is just telling the system that we're a registered charity, we work in the disability field. These are the kind of opportunities and grants I'm looking for. This is where you do that. You're telling the system, show me those that are relevant to my project. And let me just take another couple more there. And then once you've settled on that, you click OK. You can Look for those that were local and regional if you wanted to. If you're not interested in European, then I wouldn't bother ticking the European box. I missed a stage here. You've got this select eligible expenditure. So if your project has a specific requirement within the award, you can basically tell the system that I'm looking for, from the funder, a funder that will, for example, pay staff. So within that project, if there's a need within that project for a specific thing to be paid, then you can tick a box in here. What that box ticking will do, it will allow the system to go and look at all of the grants and all of the funders that specifically state in their eligibility that they would indeed pay based on or give an award for your project where there are costs associated with maintaining buildings. So again, it's another really good way of getting to some really tailored results. So the next line is fund status. So for me, somewhere in your system, you need to record the close to applications, because if you do and you set up an email alert, that email alert will come into your inbox as soon as they reopened. So I'm going to leave those in there. A couple of questions in the chat which I can't see, so if anybody wants to ask a question, please feel free. Oh no, sorry, it's just somebody that's having to go to another meeting. I'll carry on, sorry. So the next line here is funding bodies. So you may have had previous success with a particular funder, or you've heard of a fund that's out there. You can put in, there's about 9,400 different funders registered on this system. They're not all live. Obviously, there's about 4,000 different live opportunities up and down the land. But if you came, you may have heard of people like Esme Fairbairn, for example. So you can use the funding body search in two ways. The first way is, if you wanted just to see what they had going on, you can go straight to funding body, you can put in Esme Fairbairn, search, and then that will list everything they've got live, everything they may have had closed, anything they've had in the last 18 months. So that's one way of using the funding body search. The other way is you can put in the funder, and you can actually cross-reference and check if the funder will actually fund your project. So what it will do, the system will look at all of the information that you've put into the system to get to the funding body part. So in other words, registered charity, providing support to people with mental disabilities, older people, and these are your projects. It will now, for a search, only report on the Esme Fairbairn opportunities that will actually fund your project. It's quite a good way of getting to some real distinct results from particular funders. Similarly, keyword search. What the keyword search will do, it'll look at all of your information that you've put into the system here. And let's say, for example, you're looking for disability compliant toilets or something along those lines. If I was to put in disability, or if I was to put in toilets and click exact phrase, what the system will now do, if I was to search, it will look again at all the information that we've put in. So you've put in, so your registered charity, mental disabilities and older people. These are the general projects that you've got going on. But by searching now, it'll look at all of that data, look at all the information that matches that project, and look for those funders that distinctly state that they would fund toilet refurbs or disability toilets, depending on whatever that phrase is that you've put in there. So again, a really good way of getting to some specifically tailored results. And once you've completed, very simply, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, 7 or 8 stages. You then click search now. All of the information is then put into a results for you. You can save the search here, but what I would suggest is you start looking at this filter over here. So you can put it into activity order. Activity is the project. So it will look at what you've put into the system in alphabetical order. So as you can see, it's put Albert Hunt Trust, Community Development at the top. Deadline order. So you put those that are fast approaching the deadline. That's today. So you don't really, you're not going to want to save that. But as you can see here, fund status, you could take the closed ones out. I've left the closed ones in here. There is a reason for that, as I say, about the email alerts. But you can produce Word reports. So you're probably not going to want to save this one because you've got no time to do any work around it. But what you could do in theory is start looking at those that fall into December and almost taking them out of the mix, because you've probably got a little bit of time to be able to do something with these, and you can either produce a report or you can save a search and call that search December deadlines. So you could use it as quite a nice strategical tool to look at those opportunities and build into your day-to-day roles the time needed to put a viable application together. So you've got other things that you can. Funding type is only relevant if you want more than grants in here. Status will put them into future, open and closed order. So here you can see this is a future. So this is coming to the system. It's telling you that this is on its way. It's going to be open soon. And like you see, there's a few in there. Then you go to open, and then closed would be further down the line. You can cherry pick what are either government, lottery, charitable or corporate in their origin. If you leave it blank, it will tick them all. And if you wanted to take the closed ones out, you just tick that and apply the filter. So all those changes that we've just made there are changeable by ticking boxes on the left-hand side here and then applying the filter. So as you can see, that's reduced it to about 189. So there's as you can see, there's a lot of information available in the system. And then you can either save all, save some, download all, download some. If you want to save some, it's just a case of ticking the boxes, and downloading into a Word document is ticking the boxes. And then you go to save selected, and you basically name, add to existing funding list. If you've got one, put it in the default. You won't have one because you're quite new to it. And then you just save to a new list and you name it. This is just those that you want to maybe isolate out of the 189 to maybe share or to send to colleagues or to just focus on. And I'll just quickly save that. So you've got this show criteria here. This allows you to tweak and change if you wanted to. So you don't have to go back to the start to make any changes. You can do it from the report that's already in here. And you do that by just clicking on edit criteria. And what that then does is just allow you to go back into the mix and change anything that you need or want to change from there. And you can do that both at the original searching, but also when you've got historic and save searches in the system. Rather than keep on going in, starting again, there's ways that you can kind of get to the right information. And I'll show you how to do that now. So you want to save the search. And that's dead easy. You've got this save a search up here. And why would you want to do that? A, because you're going to need to come back and probably refer to these opportunities, and B, you want to be kept up to speed or up to date on anything new that comes in. So if you go to save search, it asks you to name it. You can make comments, grants based on disability. And then you've got this box here, send me email alerts based on this search. My one piece of advice would be on every single save search, tick that box. It's really important that you get to hear about new opportunities. Let the system take the strain. You don't have to keep on going in. The system's really, really, really intuitive. Like I say, if something came in today, you'd have that in your inbox as soon as it hit the system. And then you save that search. And anything that you save then lives up here in saved items. To access that, you just click on saved items. And there you have everything that I've saved. This is one that I've just done over here. I've got email alerts set up on a weekly basis. I can tweak this if I wanted to from here. Again, another way that you don't have to keep on going in. You know, you might have a different projects or different projects that you want to look for, in which case don't have to put this information in that's here because that's already in the system. You just go to that page, edit criteria, and then make amendments that are relevant. If you need or wanted to delete, you can. But what I say is make sure you set up those email alerts. And every time you go back into this search, you know, if I was, for example, I did that one on the, as you can see, the 30th of March, 2021. If I click on Great Grants, that's now updated in real time. So it remembers, it's intuitive. So whatever you've got in the system, regardless of when you open it in the future, it will automatically be updated in real time. And that's where we just save that little default list in there, funds in the list there. And that, in all seriousness, is about as complicated as it gets. I just want to, if I can get into my account. When you register, like I say, all it's going to do is ask for this type of information. Your first name, surname, email address, what I do, organization obviously is idox, but there's a little box in here which I suggest you tick. You've got this newsletter option. Each week, the system provides a national newsletter. Ticking that box just ensures you receive it. And as you can see, you've also got the user guide in here and access to the FAQs. So just to recap, it's free for really small organizations, but there is a charge for anything over £30,000 income. There's currently 2,224, and I know that only because I've run a report previously, 2,224,000 users on it. No, 2,240 users, apologies, it's early. So that you'll be in good company. They are most of the groups that are in here are very small groups. The whole reason that we've done this is to make sure that there is still that free support for small organizations out there. So all you have to do is go to the URL of www.myfundingcentral.co.uk and register or subscribe if you fall into the subscription category of groups.